Good morning, good night, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Justin, or PBJ, and welcome to Vietnam. No, wait a minute, that's not right. Welcome to the Kill Count, where we try to be unoriginal, because let's be honest, anything's good enough for government work. Today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite movies of all time, Stanley Kubrick's 7.62 by 51mm Full Metal Jacket, released in 1987.
Full Metal Jacket is a film that really cemented Kubrick as a solid Hollywood director. With a Vietnam setting, Kubrick paints the war black with themes of violence, isolation, brotherhood, and difficult choices, and the characters of the film really drive this point home. Unfortunately, as it is, war movies just aren't covered that often. I don't know why, but it has always bugged me. I chose to cover this film because, to me, it separates itself from the competition by focusing on character development and less on shooty action. And while this movie certainly does have the more bombastic beats, they are more low-key and take a backseat to what happens in real war, and not what Hollywood makes it out to be. Full Metal Jacket will always be a prime example of a realistic perspective on a war and how it affects the soldiers in it.
Now, to be honest, the first half of this movie doesn't actually have that many kills in it. And that's because the movie acts as two novellas rather than one singular novel. So for the first half, expect a lot more character analysis and story beats, and then it'll start picking up in the second half where we really get to the good stuff. So how many kills could a movie with a story actually have? Well, let's find out in Lyndon Johnson Our Way, straight into this.
Our movie begins with Hello Vietnam playing, and we see our future Marines getting their heads shaved. It's here where we are quickly introduced to a recurring theme in the movie, that being change. There's a really great video on YouTube that dives deep into analyzing the film, but I'm going to try to keep it simple here. We then get to meet our fan favorite character of the drill instructor played by R. Lee Ermey. While only being featured in the first 40 minutes, he absolutely kills it as the drill sergeant. The fact he improvised most of these lines is also impressive. R. Lee Ermey could very easily carry the first half of the film, and the fact that he acts as a mediator between the Marines and their goal, that being recruited, has major story aspects. Our characters start out as faceless nobodies. We don't know their background, we don't know what motivates them, but what we do know is their goal. It is this decision that makes what will happen in the next 40 minutes interesting. It is this decharacterization at the start that makes their later characterization so impactful. The audience is given the even playing field of the drill instructor to make assumptions and have prejudice, as the drill instructor does. In fact, this is even present in the cinematography, as they used a special lens to make everybody in focus to keep them all as equals. Anyways, for now we get introduced to our main cast of characters: Snowball, Joker, Pyle, and Cowboy from Texas.
Holy dog shit! Texas, only steers and queers come from Texas, Private Cowboy. And you don't much look like a steer to me, so that kind of narrows it down. Do you suck dicks?
Also, Pyle perfectly represents people watching this scene.
Do you think I'm funny?
Sir, no, sir.
Then wipe that disgusting grin off your face.
Sir, yes, sir.
Well, any fucking time, sweetheart.
Sir, I'm trying, sir.
Private Pyle, I'm gonna give you 3 seconds. Exactly 3 seconds to wipe that stupid-looking grin off your face, or I will gouge out your eyeballs and skull fuck you!
He then gets a montage of a good old-fashioned PT, and they begin their rifle training. The conflict of this half is introduced when Pyle fails to properly position his rifle. And while it is funny, there is actually deeper context to this. Pyle on the surface level is a child. He holds a certain level of innocence that the other Marines simply do not. It is this innocence that would lead him to do the things he would do. Now, obviously, he knows his left from his right, and got it wrong most likely because he was nervous. But that's kind of the point. A nervous soldier is one who will make mistakes in battle, and so by conditioning him to this humiliation in front of everybody numerous times, the drill instructor tries to get rid of his innocence. However, in order to break that barrier, you'd have to attack the center of his motivations. Again, we aren't given their motivations, but it's clear that Pyle, at heart, has a good soul. And a good soul and a violent war don't go together. Changing someone will result in the loss of that personality, and Pyle's abhorrent refusal to do that change is the very thing that will result in his downfall. The intercut training is more proof of the drill sergeant trying to break his core. Again, more public humiliation and, of course, just plain old yelling.
Oh, wanted you up there, he would have miracled your ass up there by now, wouldn't he?
Sir, yes, sir!
Get your fat ass up there, Pyle!
When this doesn't work, he assigns Joker as a mentor to Pyle, and Joker is seen teaching Pyle the ropes of everything, even the basics like lacing up your shoe. This relates to that childhood innocence that Pyle has because Joker teaches him like he is a child. He does see improvement in his physical performance. However, possibly the most famous scene of this movie also shows how he is coping with his core attempting to be broken. The Foot Locker scene is famous for several reasons. Again, mostly because of R. Lee Ermey.
Well now, let's just see if there's anything missing. Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f*** is that? What is that, Private Pyle?
This scene is important because it sets up the subsequent events, which is the payoff for it. It's the complete lack of remorse that drives the drill sergeant to punish the entire platoon. He even admits that he failed and that he's on his very last attempt to try to convert Pyle over. And Pyle's core is cracked open in this scene, and when they beat him after the fact, his core is just gone. There is nothing left. The helplessness of the situation is emphasized by his lack of emotion. Not that there isn't any, but it's portrayed completely differently to how every other film director. It would be expected for one to scream after being taken a beating like that from 15 guys, but the hopeless owls just sell the scene so well.
Ow!
And there's even more of a sense of betrayal, as Joker, Pyle's only true friend, who came to his aid when nobody else would, betrayed him by siding with the rest of the Corps. At this point, Pyle's original sense of innocence and morality is gone, and there's almost nothing left of him. Moving forward, we see Pyle emotionally change. He's no longer the same happy, upbeat person, but rather a voiceless machine. He is shown to actually be taken seriously by the drill instructor when he calls him born again. Then they graduate and are assigned to their respective divisions. Pyle is recruited, however, but he isn't Pyle anymore. The weeks of humiliation, reprimands, and chastisement changed him for the worse. Joker is on night watch when he hears a commotion going on in the restroom. He enters and sees Pyle sitting with his rifle, and he begins to load his rifle and recites the prayer they were taught.
This is my rifle! There are many like it, but this one is mine!
This causes the Corps to wake, and the drill instructor interjects, and Joker informs him that the rifle is in fact loaded.
Sir, it is the private's duty to inform the senior drill instructor that Private Pyle has a full magazine and is locked and loaded, sir!
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts? Didn't Mommy and Daddy show you enough attention when you were a child?
Only 40 minutes in, and we finally have a kill, and what a freaking powerful one. The acting Vincent does of Pyle shows the pure emotion and the consequence of that release of his innocent core. Pyle realizing his fate, a broken man with not a hint of his former self intact, does the only thing he knows how to: kill.
Damn, that scene is powerful. It literally gets me every single time I watch this movie. And you'd think that after such a horrible character tragedy in such a somber and heart-wrenching scene, they'd follow it up with something somber, like maybe the lieutenant's funeral with his family present. Oh, you thought I was being serious? Ha! You're hilarious. No, of course. It immediately follows with a frickin' hooker.
Something you call love, but confess.
Now you might think this is lazy, but the song playing is a criticism towards the war, so I guess that's something to know. We now follow Private Joker and his friend Rafterman during the time in the Vietnam War with the 1st Marine Division as a journalist. All seems fine with their media manipulation until the Vietnamese Lunar New Year is interrupted by a surprise attack from the NVA. Here I counted 2 Marines who bit the dust from the oncoming explosions. The onslaught begins when a carrier truck bursts through the gates and instantly explodes into a massive inferno. I don't even know how, it just kinda, I'm going to assume there was at least one driver. It may be possible that there was a co-driver, but there was at least one person who was driving that truck. During the next sequence, a wave of 7 NVA soldiers is instantly gunned down with no survivors. Again, following this, 6 more NVA soldiers charge into the base, but clearly they haven't heard of an M60 machine gun. Joker and Rafterman are then sent out into the country on a helicopter to get the tea, but the only tea they find is war crimes. The store gunner on the helicopter here kills 3 Vietnamese farmers, and his reasoning is, yeah.
Anyone who runs is a VC. Anyone who stands still is a well-disciplined VC.
However, it's what he says next that really made me die inside a little.
I've done got me 157 dead goops killed.
You know, I never really felt personally attacked when doing a kill count before, but just know it was never personal. It was always for the greater good.
I mean, he made my job easy, but they're all unknown, so I guess I'm gonna add 157 people to the count. I really don't like this guy. I don't like him. Anyways, they finally land and we see some wounded soldiers being taken away. And I'm fairly confident that they are in fact alive. But you know who isn't? These enemies of the state. Those darn school teachers and their political affiliations. We were sadly told that 20 people were rounded up by the NVA and executed, with a grim gravesite reminding Joker and the audience that war doesn't just kill soldiers. Joker and Rafterman are then told off by an officer who commissions them to link up with the front lines with the 1st Platoon. We then see a familiar face through Cowboy, who introduces the Lust Hog Squad.
We're life takers and heartbreakers. We shoot them full of holes and fill them full of lead.
Here we meet Crazy Earl, Animal Mother, and 8-Ball. Crazy Earl tells the Rafterman that he got the tea, but once again, it's more dead people. Actually just one, and it's his birthday. I'm assuming this NVA soldier was killed by Crazy Earl, but he is definitely dead, so on the count he'll go. We then see a fleet of tanks moving toward Hue City, as a few squads of infantry follow behind them. They nearly enter the city when a wave of artillery barrages the men, resulting in the death of the lieutenant. Cowboy then takes charge and leads the fire team into the city. They begin to clear the streets with no enemies present until an unlucky Marine pokes his head out from around the corner, only to get obliterated by Dust 2 campers with an AK-47. Animal Mother then quickly retaliates with a hail of MG fire. This firefight continues until a nuke tube quickly stops them. When the Marine gets shot, there are 4 muzzle flashes present, and because they stopped, I'm going to add 4 more NVA soldiers to the count. What happened here most likely is Animal Mother's barrage of MG fire killed them. All remains quiet and the Marines take time to reload when a group of NVA soldiers attempt to flee. 2 more show up and Crazy Earl is quick to dispatch of them. A group of tanks, along with the rest of the patrol, enter the city as tensions begin to die down with some Surfin' Bird playing in the background.
Truly, the song never gets old. I mean, who would even begin to question the poetic and lyrical masterpiece that is Surfin' Bird? Truly, I have never listened to a song in my life that has not only changed me, but has changed those around me. It's made me into the person that I am today. I don't know where I would be without Surfin' Bird.
We then cut to the lieutenant and that other Marine who were killed earlier, which is nice because it confirms it for me. This sequence is arguably the most impactful of the second part of the film because it shows how different people view death, and we get a glimpse into their motivations, which were previously unknown in the first part. Animal Mother's
Better you than me.
is how he views himself and others. A news crew then interviews each member, and again, character development. Animal Mother is the only one to answer the questions with the facts of war. His heartless attitude of blowing the place up to hell is a bestial instinct to completely destroy the prey, and that's where the animal and Animal Mother comes from. Cowboy is also expanded upon with the Hue battle being what he thought war would be.
What I thought about a war, what I thought a war was supposed to be. There's the enemy, you kill him.
While this interview doesn't go any further, it's plausible to assume that war is not what he made it out to be. It's a grueling fight where nobody truly wins, and that there's always a sense of loss on both sides. And Crazy Earl with,
I think America belongs in Vietnam. I I don't know. I belong in Vietnam.
Shows how the war has changed these people, and that after it's over, having their core completely changed and replaced with that of a killer, they have become so attached to that lifestyle they might not be able to hold on after. So that's pretty deep, but you know Kubrick, time to throw in a hooker. Also racism.
Need a bat in order.
I'm going first. Now back off, white bread. Don't get between the dog and his meat.
Anyways, the unit is sent to patrol the remaining area. Ah, look, a cute little rabbit. Oh, Crazy Earl Dong got himself booby-trapped. Sad death to be sure, but more importantly, Cowboy is now their NCO. With Cowboy in charge and being lost in the middle of a city, 8-Ball makes his way into this seemingly empty area. We then begin one of my personal favorite scenes of this movie. A vertically moving shot reveals that they aren't quite alone. With the zoom in with the camera, 8-Ball is shot in the leg. Why not in the head or chest, you might ask? Well, tactics. With the disorder and confusion caused by that shot, Cowboy has to make a quick decision. Cowboy requests tank support for a potential ambush, but a brave Marine steps up to go rescue him, falling right into the sniper's trap. He also gets himself shot, and with no tanks in sight, Cowboy calls for a pullout. But Mother thinks otherwise, and runs in guns blazing and somehow doesn't get shot. It's this action here that gives him the title of Mother. Like a mother, he's looking after his children and his fellow Marines, even in the face of mortal danger, and he willingly flips off fate in order to continue the preservation of his fellow Marine.
His attitude and motivation is all about his personal glory. And that's why he's depicted as a Rambo-like character who charges into battle only trying to put the most amount of lead downrange. Just like Flint, Michigan puts in their tap water.
The Marines then make their way closer to the sniper, however, they still haven't determined where he is. And Cowboy calls on the radio one more time when... Damn. Every main character killed in this movie has such a powerful death that sends shockwaves to the audience. Cowboy's struggle to hold on longer is futile as Joker embraces Cowboy. Cowboy gives one last breath, and sadly, he will have to go on the count. It's also here where I'll add Doc J and 8-Ball to the count, who most likely bled out from the wounds. With 3 men dead and Joker having lost his friend, the only thing he had since his time at training, he gives into his animalistic revenge. Joker, as the name implies, had been an upbeat person in the time of disaster, and he'd clearly not experienced the horrors of combat at this point. But when he came face to face with it, it completely shattered his being just as it did for Pyle. And there is now little remains of Joker, but as we'll see later, all is not entirely lost. The Marines then prepare to breach the building that the sniper's in. Ominous drones play as we see them clear each room in the broken building. Joker makes his way to the top when he spots the sniper. He raises his gun when...
Wait a minute. The M4/M16 jammed? Wait, what's going on? You would think with a weapon of such high scalability and high quality manufacturing that it would never experience a jam. Well, geez, if only there was some gun out there that fixed everything wrong with the M4 and M16. If only there was a Russian rifle that fired an intermediate cartridge that experienced no jams and no malfunctions and worked perfectly fine in the battlefield and never needed revised, ever. Seriously, M4 bros, just buy an AK.
Anyways, the M16 jams, which was notable as the first batch of M16s were notorious for jamming, which is why they added the forward assist in the M16A1 edition. Anyways, the sniper begins to blast away at Joker when thankfully Rafterman saves him just in time. With the sniper wounded and the room clear, the squad reunites. With the sniper critically wounded, she begins to pray and begs to be shot. Joker is faced with possibly the most difficult choice he will ever have to make. It was clear from the start that he wanted to get a kill, but when face to face with it, he's not able to make that decision. And we can see that from the long pause of his face, just going through everything that he's been through, looking back at what he's experienced, the of people he's lost and the encounters he's had, and he does that to make his final decision. Joker's nature is made clear in this instance. Earlier, the officer chastised him for wearing a peace sign with "Born to Kill" written on his helmet. Joker responded by suggesting the duality of man. And in this instance, Joker is made the catalyst of this duality. And with that, the moral ambiguity of his actions is left with him. His sense of morality is questioned, and his core is certainly changed. And you'd think following the scene that it would be upbeat as all the previous instances were. Or maybe he returns home with a typical war movie cliche. But it's none of that. We are left with Hue, a city once brimming with life, now completely set ablaze by the Marines. And as the night sky turns darker, a familiar tune over a devastating landscape is sung.
And we're in harmony. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Forever let us hold our banner high, 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 high. Boys and girls from far and near, you're welcome as can be. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
What a freaking ending. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is unfortunately the end of Full Metal Jacket. A unambiguous ending for an otherwise ambiguous movie. You see, when Kubrick was writing this, he wasn't trying to make a point or bring politics into the war. He was trying to craft a story where the characters drove their own war rather than having the war drive them. There's a quote from the book, The Things They Carried, that I think really illustrates the point Kubrick was trying to make.
A true war story is never moral. It does not instruct, nor encourage virtue, nor suggest models of proper human behavior, nor restrain the men from doing the things that men have always done. If a story seems moral, do not believe it. If at the end of a war story you feel uplifted, or you feel that some small bit of rectitude has been salvaged from the larger waste, then you have been made a victim of a very old and terrible lie. There is no rectitude whatsoever. There is no virtue. As a first rule of thumb, therefore, you can tell a true war story by its absolute and uncompromising allegiance to obscenity and evil. With Kubrick's allegiance to this obscenity and evil, through the humiliation, racism, and questionable ethics, he convincingly portrays this war.
If I can't convince you that this is a reason that film should be considered art, I honestly don't know what else really could. And with all that said and done, let's finally get into the numbers. Left shoulder, huh! Right shoulder, huh! Lock and load! A movie that was primarily focused on story, this movie had a ton of kills. 211 to be exact, which is no small feat. Granted, a majority of these kills came from that door gunner, who supposedly gunned down 157 North Vietnamese, women and children included, which kind of sucks because they're all unknown, but that is absolutely ridiculous. Even without his contribution, this movie still gets over 50 kills, which easily beats any other kill count that we've done so far. Gender distribution was almost nearly impossible, as almost all the kills were unknown, majority male, and only one female who died. Now, in terms of war, the North Vietnamese lost hard, losing 202 people, while the Americans only suffered 9 casualties. But 2 of those was the sergeant, and the other was Private Pyle, so it was more like 7. Platinum Peanut Butter Award for Coolest Kill will go to Cowboy, as the setup and payoff are done to an absolute perfection. Moldy Bread Award for the lamest kill will go to any one of the door gunner's kills, because they're all off-screen, and also killing women and children just isn't cool. And that's it. Full Metal Jacket came out in 1987 and had a fairly decent box office performance. While I would have liked to have seen another war portrayed in this Full Metal Jacket style, It's clear that Kubrick only really wanted a open and shut story with this movie. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Justin, we're PBJ, and as always, have a nice day. I am eternally grateful to finally be back on YouTube. If you guys missed my community post, I kind of went over some of the reasons why, some upcoming things. So I did a more in-depth guide there. But all you need to know for now is that things are moving along quite nicely, I would like to think. I got this video done relatively quickly compared to when I started. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do for this one. And I just figured doing Full Metal Jacket would kind of be an interesting one. It's a known movie, but not a lot of people have actually seen it, and more people are familiar with R. Lee Ermey portraying the drill sergeant. So yeah, if you guys haven't already, please do join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, do whatever the heck you want to do. I don't really care, but you should probably join the Discord.
You know, if you're a cool guy and you don't like commit war crimes in the Vietnam War, looking at you, door gunner.
Oh yeah, this is my Vietnam uniform. So if you aren't familiar, I do actually do Vietnam War, I do World War II and World War I reenactments, specifically with airsoft. So this is my M14 that I use for when I'm doing airsoft Vietnam. And I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in history, or you just like, or if you already play airsoft and you're just looking up to spice it up a little bit, why not go with something historical? Because it's freaking sweet. And honestly, I got this entire kit for maybe less than $200, which I would say for the authenticity and look of it, it looks pretty freaking sweet. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and whatever you guys want to see next, I prefer you leave it in the Discord, as the comment section can sometimes get over flooded a little bit, but personally I don't really mind it that much. But I prefer that video suggestions are in the Discord, as I'm more likely to see them, and also it just makes it easier for me to keep track of them. Now, in terms of what I'm going to do next, I have a couple of ideas. However, I am more than certain that at some point I will probably do a Hell of a Boss kill count. So look forward to that sometime. Maybe if I actually get my crap together, maybe I can like do it soon, hopefully. I don't know. I mean, I'm not claiming anything right now. I'm just saying that like in the near future, you know, for future reference, of course, that you may want to subscribe, perhaps, so you don't miss it. But what do I know? I just have my little corner of YouTube over here. You know, why would you let me look at this guy? You're telling me that you wouldn't watch that video. That's what you're telling me, right? Are you serious right now, bro? Anyways, with that, you guys have a great day. Peace.